Kendra truly falls into that category. A three-time All-America as a player for the Lady Buffs. She helped lead the program to an overall record of 129 wins, just 16 defeats during her four-year career, including going 39-1 in LSC action with 4 NCAA tournament appearances and a pair of regional championships. She is the Lone Star Conference's all-time assist leader with 6,087. When she wrapped up her playing career, she was just the 12th person in NCAA D2 history to reach 6,000 career assists. Following her playing career, she spent 4 seasons on the sidelines with then head coach Tony Greystone from 2005 to 2008. During that time, WT was 43-2 in LSC play, had 3 undefeated LSC conference championships and 3 LSC tournament titles. The Lady Buffs also made a pair of appearances in the Division II national semifinals. She was a 2014 WT Hall of Champions inductee and was also named to the Lone Star Conference's 75th anniversary team. Quite a career. It's just getting started in the head coaching side of things. But Kendra, welcome this morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's backtrack to you're down in Corpus Christi. Your husband Jim is a very accomplished public school administrator. You have 3 children. Life was going good. What made you and your family make the decision to, hey, let's pack up from the Gulf Coast and let's go back to Canyon? Lady Buff Volleyball's calling.
Well, it was, to me and Jim, this is where we met. And so we have that in common as far as knowing how special WT is to both of us. Also, both of our families are from this area. And I got to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Kathy, and my mom on right now. But is that part, the family atmosphere, just the community, everything that WT provides was a no-brainer. There is not a day that doesn't remind me that he misses fishing, but we're really, really happy to be back here so we can just share our kiddos, some time, and actually get back to the place where it all started for just us, you know. So we've been very ecstatic to be back in the Panhandle.
You come in December, so you basically have the spring time to recruit. You put together a team which obviously took to your style and your personality, a 6-game improvement in the loss column. That's not easy to do. Talk a little bit about your first season, and you kept one of the previous coaches, Casey Shingler. He's since been promoted to associate head coach. You brought on Will Boyd. You've got quite the staff.
Oh, absolutely. And that's all of this was not possible, and we're still not done at all. Yes, there was 6-match improvement, but it does go to the staff and how we work together, and every day how we problem solve, we game plan, how we recruit, and we want to make sure we're getting the right fit. But going back to December and coming into a program where everybody that was there didn't choose me necessarily, including Casey and the players, the biggest thing was I have to make sure I can get their respect first. You know, I can't assume that that's going to happen just coming in and having, you know, the title head coach. And so that was the biggest thing for me, is developing the individual personal relationships with each of these players and trying to see, you know, are they a program fit? Do they really understand what being a Lady Buff means? And honestly, I came into a very talented group. Like, the talent was not there. The gym, whenever I was watching them play practice, I'm like, we've got awesome pieces, and the work ethic matched it. And so I feel very grateful for the group that I got to inherit. And so, yeah, that was kind of the start of it, was making sure the connection and the relationship building was key. The volleyball was going to come. They were obviously talented players. They were here. And so I feel like as female athletes, we want to work hard for people that we love and trust. And so that was the biggest thing for me from the get-go.
So now you're heading into year 2. You've had kind of a partial regular recruiting period, but then the COVID-19 hits, everything's shut down. You kind of got to be creative. Tell us how you and Casey and Will have gone about recruiting with the lockdown.
Well, there's, I think we've all been trying to find the silver linings and the positives in this whole time, just through a lot of darkness that's been going on. And I think the real big positive is, of course, volleyball automatically attracts us to the player that we recruit, but we are getting to know them as people first and foremost. And I've got recruits sending me the Etsy stores that they're opening up, the meals they're cooking with their family, the new hobbies and skills that they're developing right now, which I think is super cool. And that really, yes, that was a part of the recruiting process before, but even more so now, we're getting to know these people as not just volleyball players, and so I feel like that's the positive out of this whole thing. And so it's been kind of fun. I mean, we do a lot of this. We do a lot of Zooms. We do a lot of FaceTime. And so, yes, the volleyball evaluation has been gone, but the part that I actually truly enjoy has actually elevated. So, yeah, that's how we're doing it.
Now, before we get going any further, just like we've always done, if you've got questions for Coach Potts or Coach Shingler or Coach Boyd, just give me a wave, or you can type it into the Zoom chat over on the right side. If you click chat, you can either send it to me or you can open it up to the whole group, and I'll ask it of Coach Potts. Kendra, you're 3 months out maybe from the start of the season. Looking at the schedule, it says September 4th, the Brick Pair Lady Buff Classic, but man, there's just a lot of stuff up in the air and the unknown. I know we visited in your office last week about what the non-conference schedule might look like, and there's a lot of unknowns.
There is, and I mean, hopefully today a lot of light will be shed on what next season's going to look like. Now more than ever, I mean, we all know how special this place is, but like, I just have to give so many props and just thank yous to Michael McBroom and Dr. Windler for being just advocates for the student athletes. Our mission is the student athlete experience and making sure we're providing them not just a place to compete and win, but also a place to grow, learn, become the adults that they're going to be, and they're fighting for that. And so with those fights, they're trying to make sure we're not getting to the bare minimum of competition dates while staying safe and healthy. That's always at the forefront, but I feel so lucky to have an administration that's backing us the way we are and making sure we're providing everything we can for our student athletes. And so we're going to learn more what that's going to look like today. But regardless if we have preseason tournaments or not, I feel really lucky too that the NCAA has opened it up for our student athletes to be able to come back and do some voluntary workouts. And so I just feel like them being able to get back in the gym and doing things that they love and know and work up a sweat and get those endorphins pumping is important, But regardless what season's going to look like as far as schedule goes, the roster we have coming and returning and the new pieces fulfilling the needs we needed, it's going to be an exciting group of girls to watch. I was talking to Casey and Will about it last week, and I mean, there is going to be some good volleyball played in the gym, and it's going to be some excited pieces that we've added as well.
Okay, who's got questions for our volleyball staff discussing Lady Buff volleyball here? Everyone stands there, they want to hear, but they don't want to ask, and in their head, they have their questions that they want to ask. You mentioned you're excited about the roster. Tell us a little bit about some of the kids returning, coming back, and maybe what you perceive to be the strength of this team.
Well, we lost, some huge pieces with our senior group with Selena, Lindsay, Taylor, and Julia. They had really good leadership styles, and they all four had different types of ways that they led the team. And I feel like our returners were very receptive. They learned a lot from them regardless of the roles that those girls had. And so with Chandler Vogel, I mean, she's just one of the best first contact defensive players in the country. But to match her physical ability, she's one of the best leaders, the best genuine teammates that we could ever ask for. So her leading the way in that regard, I just feel really lucky in that she empowers everybody. She doesn't dictate. She's trying to let everybody find the voice that they can help the team and strengthen, And so obviously Chandler's going to have a big leadership role, but with the return of our upperclassmen with Destiny and Cameron Artali. Destiny, she had some season injuries last year that limited her playing time, but I think she's going to come back and find a role. Cameron Artali is a nice complement to Chandler, and she's a calming factor for our team. And then we also have Elliott, who came as a redshirt this last year. And she's a special story because we always talk about these girls being talented on the court, and we talk about their physical capabilities, but what y'all don't usually get to see is what they're learning off the court. And Kayla has learned to be a good student. She has learned on how to organize, on how to strengthen herself in the classroom. And she got herself eligible, and she's going to be on the court next fall. And this girl has overcome, she's going to have such a great story to tell people when she's done with her career here. But that to us, so like we had to find ways to have little victories this spring. And Kayla Elliott finding a way to become a great student and not just get by so she could play volleyball. She's actually learning that she is smart, she's capable, she's highly intelligent. She just needed to find that confidence, and she found it. And you guys are going to enjoy watching that girl on the court. She's a middle, so she just fulfilling the role that Lindsay Smith was in, but also our new addition, Anna Graham. She is a transfer super senior, has a background of Division I coming from Angelo State. She's going to be an exciting factor. So we've strengthened ourselves in the middle tremendously, which is huge. We also had a couple big transfers come in. One California MVP, two-time All-American at the junior college level, but also as a Division I transfer prior. So she's got a high level and a deep level of experience. And we've got an outside transfer from Minnesota that played in the toughest region in the country. And she led her team in every category. And that she just wanted to find a place where she could surround herself with like-minded athletes in Portia Parass. And so those three pieces there are huge as far as like the maturity. But the freshman class coming in, we know how freshmen are. We had an excellent one last year in Tori Miller. Very, very high talent. Just so you don't know how quickly they're going to mature, but we're going to give them all a chance. And so the roster's looking really good, and we're really excited about it.
Who has a question? There we go. Jerry Schaefer. Go ahead.
Kendra, this is kind of I've got a fun question and then a serious follow-up. But
awesome.
I don't know if you remember, I talked to Jim and then I talked to you, and I just told you, since Buffy and I moved to town, we've been coming to volleyball, but last year was our first time to have a volleyball team that went into the playoffs. I know that all you other people have been watching volleyball at WT for a long time, but we just got started. And I mentioned to you, I said, this was our first team to make the playoffs since we've been here. Do you remember what you said to me?
Oh gosh, help me recall, please.
Okay, it was one of the best things I've heard all year. You just looked at me and said, "Get used to it."
I have a feeling I said something like
that. Yeah, you did. So this is my serious follow-up, and I appreciate that, and I love your confidence, and I wonder sometimes where your confidence comes from in terms of your formula, and that leads to this question: how much of Greystone's model and formula for practice, calendar, scheduling, recruiting, and success have you adopted?
I mean, if I had to put a percentage to it, it would be like at least 90%, 95%, because he's who I play for. He's who I coach under. He is my mentor. He's still my go-to. And a lot of big questions or, ideas I might have. The one thing that I've always loved about having Tony as a resource and a dear friend of mine is that he's always been big on empowering. Like, your ideas are just as good as mine. If your gut's telling you to do it, then it must be the right decision. And so he helped me gain confidence in decision making. And so, and not all decisions are right, but as long as I'm learning from them, and as long as we're learning from them as a staff and a team, then it wasn't a bad decision. We're just going to make better ones moving forward. And that's what Tony always kind of instilled. But one thing that he always did is he was fair. He was honest, and we were going to work hard. There was no going around a corner or trying to cut through an easy road to figure out ways to be successful. And so that's the only way I know how to do it. And it's because his leadership and how he developed me as a player and a coach. And so a lot of it's attributed to him. But what I love about it is he did allow me to have confidence in making decisions. So it's not like, hey, Tony, what would I do here? Wait for him to give me an answer, and then I follow that path. He really gives us power to think for ourselves. And that's what I tell Casey and Will. I want to make sure they're being heard, you know, because their ideas are better, you know, they're fresh. And I also want our players to do the same. So yeah, I mean, for a long answer, yes, Tony has a lot of influence in what I do today. And I'm really thankful for the time and the trust that he gave me.
We have another question for Kendra. Kendra, we've talked about Casey and Will to this point. Tell us a little bit about what each of these people bring to the program, and then I'll call on Casey and Will just to tell us a little bit about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Will, you know, he came in as a volunteer assistant from the University of Texas, but he also had some really good volunteer experience at a couple other universities before, to where what I was very intrigued about with Will, not only is he a good fresh volleyball mind and being younger has some innovative ways of thinking, but he can play, he can push the gym physically, and talk about somebody competitive. Like, you know, I appreciate it. I like the banter. I kind of like maybe a little conflict resolution going on in our gym, even when we're doing inter squad. And sorry, I just saw Jim pop in. Will helps that. Like, he does a great job pushing our girls accountable, but also has a really great way of having a good relationship with them. So that's really what intrigued me to Will, is that his, you know, just fresh volleyball mind, being able to physically work, but he makes really great connections with our players. And I appreciate that, because there might not be things that they always want to come and chat with me about that they absolutely will with Will. And I love that, you know? And so he's brought a ton of that to the table, and he's very hungry in getting recruiting experience. And he does a really good job at evaluating. And so I love that we're getting to work together and get him, you know, in on a full-time role. And then coming in with Casey, you know, how we started it was like, okay, let's take it month to month and see how well we work together. You know, like, who knows? You may hate me, but the more and more we got to know our styles, I didn't want somebody just like me. But I also wanted somebody that had a similar philosophy, in a way that the way we care for the players. Yes, it's tough love, but we start with love. Like, we got to make sure the girls understand that they're respected, but they're expected a lot of. And so the way Casey and the girls had their relationships and their interaction, and how he is with recruits, and just organization, energy in the gym. He's one of the best contact coaches I know. That's a lot of reason why Chandler is the way she is, and that's why we have some of the best defense in the league. And so as our relationship grew and how we understood where we wanted to go, it was a no-brainer. It was a great match. And so I feel so lucky and blessed to have the staff that I have. And so, yeah, let's turn it over to Casey and Will.
All right, Casey, why don't you start? Obviously, you were here when Jason was the coach, so there was something attractive about WT that brought you here, and then the opportunity to stick around as a member of Kendra's staff and the recent promotion. You've got to be feeling pretty good about the program.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this may be a story that I don't know if anybody knows this, maybe other than Kendra. So in my first adventure coaching in college, I was a head coach at another Division II, but I knew nothing about the landscape of playoffs. I knew nothing about regionals. I was just trying to keep my head above water as a 23-year-old head coach. And so, but the first year, our first season, we weren't very good. We're not thinking about postseason, but I watched the selection show. And so it was in 2009 when I saw WT was the 1 seed, and then all of a sudden they make it to the national championship match. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I figured it out this like 2 years ago. That is why, like, WT is a special place because all I've ever known of WT was success. But then as I got here, I started to realize what that success actually meant. And it was the day in and day out, like, integrity of who works for WT, who plays for WT, the community of WT. But then it was like, hey, we're here to win. Like, if we're going to step on the court, or if we're going to step in the field, classroom, whatever we're doing, we're going to do it so we're the best. And so when I got back into college coaching and I was applying different places, WT was at the top of my list. Thankfully, I did get the call from Jason at the time. And when he called, I said, yes, sir, let's go. And it was like 2 weeks later, I was ready to rock and roll, pack my bags, and I was out. And so it speaks volumes, because back in 2009, I was like, wow, that's a legit program. And then all of a sudden, come full circle, 7 years, 8 years later, I still think the same, but now I get a chance to be a part of it. And so, and that's kind of what Kendra and I talked about when she got hired. One of her first questions was, what is your coaching style? And I said, do it for the program. And that's exactly where it's been. And so when Kendra said she puts the program over everything, and then everything falls in line under that, I knew that was a point of us saying, okay, we have the same idea about where the direction is going to go. And then from there, it's been pretty seamless. And so, yeah, it's the WT culture is something that I've always been enamored by. And for the past going into 4 years now, it hasn't changed my thought. I mean, this place is great. And there's things about it that I'm learning every day that you don't see at other programs. We've been at Division I, Division II, other programs. You don't see it. And that's attributed to everybody that's on this call. It's attributed to everybody you see at our matches, even just walking in daily life in Canyon and Amarillo. I mean, it's a special, special place.
And what you said is so true. Everyone, you just assume that every school is on the same wavelength, fighting for the same prize. But until you go to another school or work at another school, you don't realize that not half of them have the pieces put together like WT has managed to assemble.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. And it's special from the moment you wake up to the moment that you go to bed because of the daily interactions. But the beauty of it is there's tough days and there's not so tough days, but each day you leave saying, I want to go back tomorrow. And so being a part of that community, that's special.
Will, let's turn to you now. You have coached at some impressive spots. You were a player, and then you come here, as Kendra says, as a volunteer. That's a leap of faith. But talk about your journey to get here and what you found since being here.
Yeah, so I've started out growing up in Alabama. There's no men's volleyball. So I knew that if I wanted to play college ball, I'm going to have to do everything I can, training on my own, watching tons of film. So I ended up getting an opportunity to play at a school in Chicago, played as a setter there. And then after that, I was like, you know what, I wanted to see what this college coaching life is about. So after that, I went to be a volunteer at Stanford University for 2 years. I was able to be a part of a conference championship. And after that, I was like, you know what, I want something bigger. What else is left? So then I had an opportunity to go to the University of Texas, be the 2018 Big 12 Conference Championship there. And then after that, I was like, you know what, I need to be paid now. And then I was like, I want to see what else is out there now that, you know, I've already accomplished a few things on my list that I wanted to accomplish. And now the next one is I want to be a full-time assistant coach. And so thankfully I reached out to Kendra and she offered me to come on interview, and, you know, things led one to another. I was walking on to WT. It was just like home, honestly, a smaller school. You know, everybody knows who you are. And I was like, this is it. This is where I want to be. And so ever since being here, it's like I get to wake up, do what I love, go home, repeat the process. And so just being at WT has been awesome so far.
And Kendra, hearing what Casey has told of his story and Will of his, I can see how the girls buy into your staff and you, because everybody's done it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the pieces. Just we don't all three need to be alike, but we do need to be approachable, and our styles can complement out of the 18, 19 girls we have on the roster. I feel like with us three that we can strengthen the pieces, and that's what I've always liked about whenever we go back to working with Tony. He always found ways to strengthen his staff, and therefore it strengthened the team. And so, yeah, I mean, we call ourselves the dream team in our group text because I just feel that way. I feel like we brainstorm things, whether it has to do with volleyball or off the court. We're fun, we're goofy, but then we're serious at the same time. And I think that's what keeps us enjoying the job, enjoying our day. It's never really the grind, as they call it. We're really doing what we love.
And you talk about doing what you love. Coaching is an all-encompassing job, but you're a wife. Your husband's down here sporting his Chicago Cubs paraphernalia right now. You're a mother of 3 kids. How do you juggle it?
The village that is right here. That's how we juggle it. I feel like that's how everybody juggles it, whether you're a working mom, a working dad, whatever the case may be. It's the village. And so through this quarantine, Jim and I basically negotiate our work days because he's got to do the same thing. And so, but it's a team at home too. But that goes with Casey and Will, and the volleyball, our players actually have a working role with us too. And so it's not because of one person, it's because of the community behind it. That's exactly how this is possible. And I just feel like there's no better environment for kids to grow up around than athletics, regardless what sport they want to play. I just feel like it's a healthy environment. I feel like getting to see young student athletes for my kids to just look at and say, wow, no better place to be. And so, yeah, that's how we make it work.
Okay, we've got a question, Kendra, from Pamela Hames. It's kind of one of those open-ended questions right now. When do you anticipate the players returning to Canyon to begin workouts?
Okay, so we've got, with the NCAA doing that waiver for this summer for our athletes to be able to come back and not just train with Coach Ramey, but they can actually go into the gym, the box when it's fully back open, and ask us on a voluntary basis to come and train and play volleyball. And so with that piece of not legislation changing, but the waiver going into effect this summer, it's actually encouraged a lot of our players to come back early. And so we've got 6 here in town now, and they're going to start doing some small group training in June. But in July, we're going to have probably 75 to 80% of our team back, which is huge because the time that we lost, we can make up for. But also, we're going to have to ease these girls back into the gym. As much as they've been working out still, it's just different. And I think they're of course, we're talking silver linings. One silver lining through all this is that they've gotten the rest and the recovery that their bodies probably needed. And so I don't look at this time off as oh no, we're going to lose some ground. We're going to be having some fresh body to be able to get back in the court and train, but I want to take advantage of that. I don't want to just, get back in there and say, all right, let's make up for it in a week. No, let's get them back. Let's get them acclimated. It's going to be rusty. We all know that. And so I expect most of the teams to be back by July. We'll be doing some small group stuff in June, and then we're going to have a good full 2 weeks of everybody here early August, to where by the time we're starting preseason, we're probably going to just be more game planning, prepping, not necessarily implementing system stuff. And so they're actually going to be coming back earlier, which is super encouraging. Of course, if it's my biggest factor for them is I want to make sure they're coming back here to a safe and healthy environment. And so as long as those accommodations can be made for our players, whereas if they're renewing their leases with their apartments or whatever the case may be, then we're making it happen. So we're very excited about that.
and they've predominantly been at their homes right now. You know, the areas that have been shut down are gyms and fitness centers. How have you been communicating, you and Will and Casey been communicating with them, and what kind of workouts are they going through right now to stay in some semblance of shape?
Right, absolutely. So again, I pinch myself being able to be at WT during this time because of the staff we have. And so I'm appreciative of Michael McBroom and Dr. Windler for all they're doing. But on the flip side, Coach Rainey has been amazing at keeping our athletes active, involved, interacting, giving them the workouts. And so she's implementing a lot of that part for the strength and conditioning. Volleyball's still limited just because of how it's set up, needing a net and a ball. It's hard to play volleyball by yourself, but the girls are finding ways to be creative to get touches on their own. However, here's a fun thing that we've done as a team, which has been on a weekly basis. I was never on TikTok before the quarantine. Okay, I didn't know much about it. But I knew our girls knew about it. I knew it was something that they enjoyed and they could interact with. So we implemented TikTok into our weekly regimen to where they post 3 TikTok videos a week of them getting some kind of workout activity, getting some vitamin D outside. And they've actually become very creative, and it's pretty humorous. I don't know if any of y'all follow us on TikTok, but it's worth it. But that's how we're showing what we're doing to be active. So yes, they're getting workouts in, but sometimes they're super creative. They're going on, runs with their dogs, or they're racing their siblings. And so it's just been a good way to interact. And again, another creative way to stay in touch. And so besides the serious part that, Coach Rainey can implement, she's doing a great job at, we're also trying to have fun with it too, because on top of the strength and conditioning piece, I've been very concerned with mental health too. I just want to make sure that what's going on in between our ears is healthy. I think we've all had days during this time going, what's going on? What's the normal going to look like? And I think that's totally okay, but I just want to make sure we've got healthy outlets to know, one, we're not alone in this, but 2, we can give each other something to laugh at from time to time. And it's been really good. It's been really fun.
All right. Questions for Kendra? Jerry, you're back on.
Kendra, I've watched Cooking with Kendra 2 or 3 times, but I've never seen you guys actually cook anything. Do you ever actually cook something and finish it?
Yeah, okay, that's hilarious. I'm glad somebody brought this up because you busted us. We did cook a meal that night. There was a lasagna in the oven, but if you paid attention, we did all those video sessions in one night, and we just pretty much chopped the same salad the entire time. and it was hilarious. Honestly, we thought of this concept. Casey, Will, and I, we were on our way back from volleyball convention, NCAA Final Four, and we were like, we got to think of something fun, creative, just something that puts people, laughing, smiling, and also getting to know our players that when they're not playing volleyball. Who are they when they're not playing volleyball? So we came up with Cooking with Posh, play on the last name, and we did not actually cook the lasagna was in there, truthfully, but yeah, we cut the same salad the entire night. However, if we did a segment again, I feel like we would all be better cooks or all be better bakers, because the level of cooking and baking has gone to the extreme in the last 6 to 9 weeks. And so, but yes, you called me out, Jerry. I appreciate it. But we were cutting the same tomatoes the entire time.
All right. Who has another question? Okay, we have a question that's been asked on the chat, and Will has actually answered it, but we're going to let him go into a little further detail here. Someone has asked, who has a better serve, Said or Lacey? I think there's an inside joke there.
I'm going to have to say Lacey.
Can I answer that? Lacey.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Said. but
He's
that arm
trying.
doesn't lie.
He's
I'm
really
done.
mad about this one.
I'm done. That was a jump serve. She didn't jump. I jump served.
Was it fair though?
You can come in.
Is it fair in volleyball? Sorry.
Casey, who has a better serve?
Okay, I'm going to give a small background to this so everybody doesn't look so lost.
Yeah.
Cedric, we take a lot of our recruits to Lacey and to Cedric to kind of give some admission perspective. And so Cedric does a great job. His energy is awesome. Recruits love him. He's kind of the end of our day. So when we take him, or we take the recruits over there, he always tells about his mud volleyball days and how he can play. So we said, Cedric, the gym is open. We can get you some knee pads and get you a jersey, whatever you need, we got for you. So him and Lacey showed up one day into the gym, and sure enough, a little challenge, because being the competitive natures they both are, they got after it, and there's no lie, Lacey crushed him. They crushed him. It was every part of that serve was what Lacey checked off that box. Sorry, I said you're a football dude.
What?
You don't jump very well. It's okay.
I'm done.
Football takes away the hop.
But Ced's mud volleyball game is on point. So Ced will give you that. Yeah.
Casey, this is Casey Lish here. I'm going to let you ask this question.
So I got a couple of questions, actually. One, this is to the second Casey, the least important one on this call. How tall is your hair? It seems like it's grown a couple of inches since quarantine, just your hair. And then second, who spends more time doing their hair, you or Kendra?
Well, I'm 5'7", and my hair is about 5 foot of that. And I think it's funny because on road trips, I'll let Kendra answer this, but I actually think I may spend more time on my hair. I think it's possible.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for being honest there, Casey. I appreciate that. But if we could have had this Zoom call like 2 weeks ago, y'all, you would have seen Casey with the grossest mustache you would have ever seen. He just cut it off. I'm very sad he trimmed it. Well, actually, I'm not sad at all. I don't think it was going to help our recruiting game. But he had a competition with his brothers who could grow the best stash. And telling you, the whole Shingler family has great hair.
Gets a thumbs up. All right, who's got a question? Got to have some out there. Kendra, we're going to go back to a vital piece of Lady Buff volleyball, something that nobody outside of Canyon, Texas likes, but the people here love it, and that's your facility, the box. Obviously, you sell the box, and the girls that play here buy in and love the box. We've done some makeovers for Will and Casey this past year to make life better for them. But talk a little bit about a piece of history, really, and how you use it to your advantage.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much history in this building that is special, and you might not get it at first, but once you get in here and get the game day vibe, even if you can just come to a match and just take it all in, that's when you start to get it. And so I understand when people come in, they're like, this old gym? I'm like, it's not just an old gym, you know? And so we talk it through, but we are so lucky to be a Division II institution that has their own facility for volleyball, you know? Just making it our gym and our own, there's other pieces behind the scenes that we're so grateful for. Men's and women's basketball, they have their own, like a lot of universities kind of have to work out, and there's sometimes conflicts between who can play, who can practice, what season people are in, et cetera, et cetera. And we really don't have to worry about that here. And where I came before, we did, you know? And so that little piece of just the convenience factor there. But as far as the box goes, I mean, I've watched the national championships teams, although they didn't win it here, they won it in Amarillo, play in this facility. So we're talking early 90s, late 80s, and it's still there, and the smell's still the same, and I don't know. It's just I'm in here right now, and I'm so happy that I get to come here every day. But I'm ready for the noises. I'm ready for the balls to be bouncing. I'm ready for the lights to be on. I'm ready for, you know, Brad's voice to be on the PA and just let it go, because it's just it's another home to us, you know. Yeah, we're doing some, you know, some fixing up. Casey and Will got a new office, which was a really good. The space we have in here is amazing. We've got new study hall areas for our girls, more space for them to lounge out here. Because honestly, when they're in between classes, I want them to use this place as a place where they can come and hang out. And they often do. They're often coming into our offices just saying, "What's up, coach?" And that's exactly the culture we want. I don't want them to feel like they have to come in here and be business all day. Yeah, there's a time and place for it, but I want to hear how their day's going. You know, I want to hear the funny stories. I want to hear how their tests went, you know? And so that's what we're trying to formulate here. Make sure we're using the space to the best of our advantage. But this place is special. You know, we're projected to probably update the floor, which is exciting. I'll take whatever floor we can play on. But if we get to update it, that's going to be exciting too. And so, if anything, the box is just going to keep that draw for us, and it's going to keep making WT volleyball as special as it is right now.
And we're hoping September 4th, the Brick Fair Lady Buff Classic, to pull it off. You know, we've talked a little bit about what may or may not happen non-conference. Nothing's known yet, but your volleyball tournament, you're bringing in some teams from out of state, some of which we don't know if they're going to be able to travel or not. So have you had time to think about contingencies, or is that even a realm yet until you know what the actuality is?
You know, like there's ideas that go on in my head as far as just the plan Bs, but you know, whenever I talk to Michael and everyone, we don't want to go there until we know we have to go there, because everybody's in the same boat, you know, and there's some states that might make it harder for teams to travel out of state to compete, while others might keep an open mind to it. And so, you know, we've got it set right now where Harding, you know, out of state Fort Lewis, Arkansas Fort Smith, Dallas Baptist, all these schools are still planning on coming, but it could change most likely, you know, by this week to end of next week to see who can still travel. And so we haven't changed anything yet. I want to keep this tournament going. And if it's all Texas teams, then it's all Texas teams. I want to give our student athletes opportunities to compete. Okay. Whether it's whoever it's against, that's one thing. You know, I do want to keep a strategic plan as far as regional matches and making sure our strength of schedule is still up to par for playoffs. And so, but I know all the other teams are trying to do the same as well. And so I don't feel like we're going to be the only school trying to keep that as their primary goal. And so I feel like everybody's going to be working with each other. If anything, the community, the sports community, I don't have to speak for all sports, but I feel like I can. Everybody's wanting to help each other out. The coaches are brainstorming together. We're brainstorming ways to have our student athletes come in safe, to stay safe and healthy. And we're not hiding our ideas from each other. You know, if we do that, we might stop the process. And so I feel like that's going to be the same for scheduling. I feel like schools and coaches are going to work with each other to make sure we can maintain strong strengths of schedules and give all the play dates that we possibly can for our student athletes.
Okay, last round of questions. Who's got a question for Kendra, Casey, or Will? Lady Buff Volleyball. Brittany Gale coming in from the ticket office, although that's her ticket office at home right now. Go ahead, Brittany.
As of currently, I'm currently selling tickets out of here, but yeah. Y'all have such a fun team, and you guys are just always smiling, always having fun. So I'm just curious, you guys go from having all these fun ideas and doing all these things like jumping around outside of a bus or coloring pumpkins or dressing up as a lamp with toilet paper. How do you guys just regroup and come out and compete after that? And like, where's that balance that you guys find?
Well, I feel like, you know, Casey and Will can maybe bounce off of this too, but I feel, you know, we have a funny saying, but it's like, look good, feel good, play good, you know, and the look good is more for the funny part, you know, but feel good, I feel like it completely translates to the court. And I'm not looking for the butterflies and rainbows and unicorns all the time, but I am looking for that feel good, that everybody feels the best version of themselves. They're confident, they're loose, they're free. They're not looking over their shoulder, wondering what somebody's thinking. I feel like you're going to get the best version of yourself that day. And that's what we want to incorporate when we're traveling, when we're eating together, when we're off the court, when we're on the court. And yes, there's days where we push them. Every day we push them. But I feel that, the fun out of it, guys, there's a lot. We spend more time off the volleyball court than on when we're in season, So if we can enjoy each other and enjoy each other's company and get to know each other on a personal level, the season becomes very long, I feel like the way we're doing it, it allows our girls to breathe for a second. They're managing a lot, on top of school and everything else. And so they know how to turn it on and turn it off. We do talk about that switch, but I feel the feel-good switch, I don't ever want it to turn off. And Casey, Will, you can kind of, add to that if you'd like.
Well, and that's kind of the beauty of the staff is we've all in some form or way or shape, we've been a college athlete. And so that's an experience that, and we tell this to recruits all the time. That's why I think Kendra was perfect for this job. She at one point was them. I mean, she was that 18-year-old, 19-year-old girl that had to get up at 6 a.m. and go to practice and go through the hard, trainings and the injuries and having to manage and organize. So understanding all of that, Brittany, it's almost like it's a necessity that we do that stuff because we've seen what it's like to be a part of it. And when it can get dark, it's really hard to get out of sometimes. And so it's like, okay, as much as we do get out on the court, we have to do it off the court. It's almost like a necessity. And so, and when we talk to recruits, that's kind of what they're saying as well, is that they're, well, I had a tough practice, and then all of a sudden 3 days later, things are still tough. They're still working on that management of stress. Our game is so stressful already. Why are we doing that off the court when we can truly be, enjoying our time together? Because let's be honest, this is an experience they get for 4 years. You'll never get it again. Once you're done being a college athlete, you're done. You don't get to go back. And so if we're just spending all that time in the dark, there's just no need for it. And so it's almost like a necessity to do all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, that's going to do it for today's Coach's Zoom. Lady Buff Volleyball is on a roll. We have got one of the best and the funnest coaching staffs to be around and be a part of. So BuffNation, you're very fortunate to have this group in charge of our volleyball program. Our next Coach's Zoom will be this Thursday, May 21st. We're going to talk football with the head coach of the Buffs, Hunter Hughes. Until then, stay safe. It's going to be hot outside. Stay hydrated. And above all, go Buffs. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. It's so good to see you guys.